This episode is brought to you by the Slash and Cast Podcast Network. Learn more at slashandcast.net.
She can't get down with Oscar Isaac with her dad there, though. Come on. Hello and welcome to the Conjecturing a Horrors podcast. With me is Laura.
Hello.
And Greg.
Hey, guys.
And I'm your host, Rob. How's everybody doing tonight?
Great.
Great. A little chilly out here.
A little chilly? Yeah. We're not in our typical gold room tonight. We're actually, because of the movie we're doing, Blair Witch Project, we decided to go to the outdoors. So we're actually in the Shining Hedge maze tonight. We're all snuggled up in a tent. I think Greg's farting up a storm, but that's okay, It's okay.
Guys, I'm not trapped in here with you guys. You're trapped in here with me.
Yeah. I told Greg not to eat that chorizo burrito, but he just couldn't stop himself,
That pantry is fully stocked. You guys know this.
Yeah, I know. It's true. Yes. So speaking of being in the maze, being cold, what are we wearing tonight for this episode? What do you got going on, Laura?
I'm dressed as Heather. I have my beanie on and I'm crying those big old tears. And just like snot galore coming out right now,
Well, that'll help the fart plug, though. You won't be able to smell it, so that's good.
Yeah, I don't smell it. Thank goodness.
Oh, that's good. Thank God. Yeah, what about you, Greg? What do you got going on?
I'm dressed as Josh. He's the cameraman. So I've got my, green shirt, beanie, a little shark tooth necklace, whatever the heck that's for. I've got my my camping backpack and also my little handheld camera.
Film the events. Nice.
I'm ready to go. Ready to document everything.
Nice.
I like it. Yeah, I drew the short straw, of course. I'm Mike. I'm wearing a flannel, a beanie, and I'm in the corner pretty much, facing the wrong direction. So I don't know what's happening behind me right now. But I'm also wearing one of our conjecture shirts. I'm wearing our 237 Shining shirt we have at the merch store, right now, which is pretty cool. We got a bunch of cool designs there. If you guys want to check them out, it's tpublic.com/user/conjecturingpod. And all that will be in the notes of the show and everything like that. I'll link there and everything. So, yes, if you want to see these pics, though, you can check out Twitter and Instagram at Conjecturing Pod for both. You could see, Greg and his camera and Laura's snot bubbles and me in the corner. So, be pretty cool there. But I was gonna say, wait, do you guys hear something? Do you hear something right now? Oh, what is that?
Oh, jeez.
Oh, what is that outside the tent? You guys hear that?
Yeah.
It sounds like something's outside, right?
Yeah.
Oh, crap. That's kind of weird. Greg, did you kick over some rocks when you were coming in? Did you?
No, I was very careful not to touch any of the forest accoutrement.
You just farted up a storm. That's it.
Maybe that was offensive enough for the forest.
Oh no, maybe
I saw a tree die when I walked past it.
It was blowing those twigs around. Oh no.
Oh my
interesting.
God.
Oh no. Oh, that's weird, huh? I don't know. It's kind of scary out here a little bit now. It's kind of dark and creepy, and
I mean, it's just the three of us. I don't know who else it could be.
Let's just listen real quick. And I thought I heard something else right now. What is that? Oh no! What is that?
Oh that fucked.
Oh no! The tent's shaking, you guys. The tent's shaking. Oh my goodness! Oh my God, you guys! The tent is shaking. Oh my God! Let's get out of here. Let's get out of the tent. Oh wait, what's happening? Oh wait, somebody's. Oh my God, who is that? Oh my God, somebody's unzipping the zipper right now. Oh no! Uh-oh. What is that?
This is not the kind of movie.
It's a tent zipper.
Tent.
Come on.
You did not specify.
Get out of there. Oh, it's Lloyd. It's Lloyd. He's bringing us our drinks tonight.
Oh, hey, Lloyd. You scared us.
My man, Lloyd.
Lloyd, you scared us, Lloyd. Oh, my goodness. You scared us, Lloyd. Are there kids with you, Lloyd? What's happening? Why are there kids laughing out there? Oh, yeah. It's just some twins. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So
what you just did is scarier than this entire movie we're about to talk about.
Okay, well, there we go. We got some drinks now. So let's see what we're drinking tonight. Let me get the drop going here.
What's in the cups?
Okay, that scared everybody off. Everybody's gone now. They got scared from that rendition. Okay. So what are we drinking tonight, Laura? What are we drinking tonight?
Sorry, I'm just excited that Lloyd brought me a drink.
I'm glad the tent's open now. I can waft out this smell. It's gross in here.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
We are drinking what we have termed the Blair Witch. And this one is a bit tougher to make. And I think it's probably only worth it if you're a big whiskey fan. I'm having some trouble drinking this one, you guys. I'm not going to lie. It's, I don't know. And by Greg's face, I feel like he is too.
You know, I have a suggestion. Double the amount of sugar that goes into it.
Double the sugar.
And use powdered sugar. On my second drink, I threw in some powdered sugar. It really improves it.
Powdered sugar?
You're beating me? This is incredible.
Oh, yeah. I hit up Lloyd before we jumped on. So,
shit.
You're grabbing that burrito and you grabbed a drink. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Nice. So as we said, there's whiskey in this cocktail, sugar, orange bitters, sherry, and lastly, a strega, which is known as the witch's liqueur.
Ooh.
And it's an herbal liqueur, and it can be substituted with other types of herbal liqueurs like sambuca or chartreuse if you don't have it. But also a fun fact is that Maryland was once a whiskey distilling powerhouse, you guys. So this drink is really on brand.
Nice.
And if you're a whiskey drinker and you're going to be watching this movie, I suggest it, but not for me.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
By the way, I like how you said if you don't have Strega, it's okay. Just substitute with chartreuse. As if everybody's got that too.
I mean, I don't know what else.
The only thing you need to remember is double the amount of sugar.
Double the amount of sugar. Okay.
Yes.
That's true. That's true. Okay. All right. Well, good job, Laura. Good choice. Somebody out there is going to like it, I think. Maybe they're a witch or not. I don't know. So let's get to some show news updates real fast. We just want to remind everybody, if you're listening, please rate, review our podcast, whatever your platform you're listening to it on. I don't think we got any follow-up from previous shows or anything like that. We did last week. We did our mirroring episode. We had our guest on, Rob Jane. That was a mind-blowing episode, I think. What do you guys remember anything from that episode? Yeah,
I continued to read the book like the middle of the week after we interviewed. And it continues to blow my mind. It's pretty awesome. And Gaurav was a really great guest. And really good spirit and really a pleasure to have on the pod.
Oh definitely. Yeah. What about you, Laura? Do you have anything in particular you want to shout out from last week's episode?
It was just such a good time, you guys. I mean, he was a joy. The subject we were talking about, all three of us are very passionate about, The Shining, and just, his work of art, which is his novel, The Mirroring, and also just to switch it up with our first Pick Your Poison. I mean, it was it was a good time.
Yeah. I'm kind of like Greg. I've been like reading the book and everything, but what I've been doing is we talked about on the pod of like reading the book and watching the movie at the same time, but I've been watching the movie through the mirror. So like I watch it through a mirror, so it's reversed, and then I read the book, so it's like double mirroring. So if next week I'm just gone, guys, I fell into some type of alternate dimension, I think, and I'm in the movie somehow or something like that. So
oh my god, you're like trapped in some painting on the wall.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'll be cool. I'll be trapped in the gold room. That'd be sweet. I'll just meet you guys there next week. Be okay. So like we said, we're doing Blair Witch this week, 1999 movie. This is my movie pick. I just picked this movie because I remember seeing it back in the day when I was younger, and just how it blew my mind back then of just how innovative it was at the time and how crazy it was and how fucked up and how real everybody thought it was. It really like took over the internet in 99 and everything like that. And I just remember that. So I just wanted to rewatch it and see if the movie itself like holds up now. That's really why I picked it. I was gonna ask, you guys saw it back then when it came out?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right. Okay, cool. Nice.
In the theater. Yeah.
In the theater. Okay, great. That's perfect. I really want to talk when we get into the movie more about like your guys' movie experience and stuff like that. Because I always think it's fascinating with these type of movies that you think are real, of like, what did you think watching it? You know what I mean? So we'll get into that a little bit later. But first, let's do our horror segment of the week. So let me get the drop going here. All right, so we got a question this week, and this question was actually Laura had this idea for this question. Laura, do you want to run down what question we're doing?
Yes. So what other two horror-ish characters or actors that have been in a horror movie are you bringing with you to share a tent with and look for the Blair Witch with?
Horror.
Rob, you should go first.
Oh my goodness. I should go first?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Horror-ish characters or actors. Interesting.
It can be an actor that's been in horror movies. Maybe you don't love their character, but you think them just, as an actor, as a person.
True.
And they're there to help you catch the Blair Witch. That's the purpose.
They're
Is that
just
what it
there.
is?
You're
just
there
there.
spending time with them, you know,
Yeah.
bunking up, having
Mhm.
some campfires and all that bullshit.
Okay.
And you guys are also looking for the Blair Witch. I mean,
Okay. I mean, for me, I would say my first thought that popped in my head right now would be Ash from Evil Dead.
Oh my God.
I would
Yeah.
definitely take Ash from Evil Dead. He's going to keep us safe. He has a chainsaw
Yeah.
for a hand. But I also think our humor, we go together pretty well. We can make jokes and be kind of cocky together and make comments about the witch and kind of like deface her and make her, you know, like cry maybe or something like that if we ever see her. So I think that'd be cool. My other one would be, of course, Hud from Cloverfield. He's great with a camera. He knows what he's doing.
Yes.
Again, our humor is going to get along great. I think me, Hud,
Nice.
and Ash from Evil Dead, we'd have a great time. We can just fart up a storm in the tent. Nobody would care. We can make jokes. So I think that'd be my perfect group to go hunting for the Blair Witch for.
Oh, I like the HUD pick. That's perfect.
That is perfect. I feel like you guys are just going to be laughing the whole time and you're going to forget what you're doing.
I know you're like, why are we up here?
Yeah.
That's true. We're never going to actually leave the tent. We're just going to make jokes and stuff like that. That's true. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we'll do a secondary podcast over there. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, Greg. What about you, Greg? What is your pick? We'll leave Laura for last. It's her question. What do you think, Greg?
Sure. So my number one pick is going to be La Llorona.
What?
What the fuck is happening right now?
Listen to this. So by the way, I'm looking for bonus points because I'm only going to grab characters from movies that we reviewed. So La Llorona, the housekeeper played by Maria Mercedes. So first of all,
that one too. You're not even grabbing like the real official La Llorona. You're grabbing the one that really didn't do a whole lot and just stared at people.
That's debatable. I feel like she did quite a bit, but
She's
anyway,
gonna teach Greg how to hold his breath.
here's the thing. When you're lost in the woods and you need potable water, she can produce water, right? So she's all about just making water. So if you're about to dehydrate, she could just, materialize water at a heartbeat and keep you alive, right? Secondly, as a revenge spirit who lost children of her own to a monstrous person, I feel like she would be instantly in revenge mode for the Blair Witch.
Wow.
So she would go after the Blair Witch with a fiery passion. Of course, she's also not terrible on the eyes, so that's a bonus.
Oh no.
Number two pick.
See, Laura, this is why I didn't want a woman in the tent. I'm not going down that trouble road. I'm not getting in trouble. I'm not getting canceled on Twitter.
Number two pick, Howard from Tusk. So that's the old man played by Michael Parks.
Okay. Wait a second. we all have to say within 3 minutes of Greg's experience, he is murdered instantly by one of these damn people. There's no way you're getting out of that, Greg.
Listen to me. Okay, so first of all, just knowing his background, he would have the most amazing campfire stories to tell. This way we're not stuck talking about stupid stuff, the stars, the trees. We're talking about his past and his military experience and all the kind of cool, adventures he was on. Not to mention, if we don't end up finding anything in the forest, I feel like he'll help me and my project and BS my way through the documentary. I mean, we'll probably just wind up interviewing him for the whole thing. And and also let's be honest, he can survive any survival scenario. We learned that in Tusk. So I feel like if he can find his way out of the middle of an ocean, he can find his way out of a stupid forest. So those are my two picks.
I don't know, Greg.
Wow.
You better check his pack, man. Make sure there's not a walrus suit in there. You better make sure, Greg. I'd be scared. What do you think about those picks, Laura? You're just shaking your head right now.
Honestly, I can't process it.
I know, it's crazy.
My brain literally won't let me process this information.
Can we have a documentary crew documenting you making your documentary? Because I think that is actually going to be the most fun experience of that. Oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
That's so funny. Okay, Laura, you got to follow that craziness. So what about you, Laura? What two characters are you picking?
All right. I am going to pick the actor, Oscar Isaac.
Oh, okay. Oscar Isaac. Nice. I like him.
Oscar Isaac, you probably know him from, most recently Star Wars. He's been in a
Ex
ton
Machina?
of movies.
Ex Machina?
Yes, Ex Machina is
okay.
what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of his character, Nathan.
Oh.
He had his flaws, of course, but he was a genius, right? I mean, he came up with the robot and or the artificial intelligence and, I just feel like he's really smart, and I think he is not so bad on the eyes for sure. So cannot wait to.
Wow, you guys turned this into some type of Dirty Mind documentary, or you're both talking about easy on the eyes of your characters.
At least I picked someone who was intelligent and might help me in a situation.
Oh, well, I guess that's true. Okay. All right.
But also, oh God, yeah, he's really attractive, you guys.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Nobody go to Laura's tent if it's rocking. Don't go.
Yeah.
If the tents are rocking, don't come a knocking. Yeah. Don't go in there.
And I had such a tough time with my number 2 pick, but you know what? I actually think I'm going to pick McCready from The Thing, because I also think that he is just really smart. He takes action. And I mean, if anyone is going to survive any weird situation where you're out in the elements, it's McCready.
That's true.
Wow, that's actually interesting picks. You know, I like those picks. Like I can see that in my mind of your crew you're making. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know about Greg's. So Greg is I can't get that out of my mind. Greg's. I don't know how he's surviving.
I had 5 other alternatives, and these are the 2 that made it to the top.
5.
So.
That's really funny. I had alternatives too.
Wow, you guys are interesting. You guys can have multiple documentaries going on at the same time. Me and my crew, we just forgot what's happening. We're just making jokes up in the woods. After
this, I want to hear you guys alternative picks.
Oh, I kind of want to tell you guys right now.
Shoot it to us now.
Okay, go for it.
One of my alternatives was the entire cast of A Quiet Place, both John Krasinski and his wife Emily Blunt, because I think both of them are very easy on the eyes.
Oh my God, Laura, what is
let's
this?
Just and
I think Laura's making a porno, not a documentary.
And Emily Blunt's character in A Quiet Place, she is a survivor, a fighter, and John Krasinski's character in A Quiet Place, like he would do anything, even spoiler, sacrificing himself.
Okay.
What does
Maybe
that mean?
you might have to cut that out.
Yeah.
He would do anything for the people that he cares about.
Okay.
Oh, interesting. Wow.
Cut out what I said first and then replace it with that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, producer. Okay. Wow, that's interesting. Okay, what about you, Greg? What are some of your alternates? What do you got?
Oh, actually,
other murderers? Mine
are just ridiculous. So Arnold Schwarzenegger is Dutch from The Predator.
No.
I also had Bagul on my list.
Oh my God, Greg, you're crazy.
You're going to be stuck in a tent with this person. If they want to just murder you, they're going to murder you.
Well, if we're chartered to go catch the witch, I feel like, that's the mission. They're under contract to do that. Anything else is just extra. So, he's going to summon his kids to fight the child ghosts in this movie.
I feel like Greg is going down the Kong versus Godzilla route, where it's like there's a giant kaiju. We need another kaiju on our team to be with us and fight it. I feel like that's
trust me. My last 2 picks are the kaijus of this. So one is Pyramid Head from Silent Hill. I figured
God,
we could use his helmet as a tent at night. Then during the day he could put it back on and fight the witch. And then my last pick, you guys have to give me credit for the Babadook. The Babadook would just straight up channel the grief from all the Blair Witch victims' families, and just
this is crazy.
Listen, what's
the Blair Witch.
happening is Greg is a serial killer.
Oh, that's true.
And so he's picking other serial killer villain type.
Fight fire with fire.
That's true.
You guys are all buddies. You all have something in common.
True. He's just making a killer crew. Yeah, of all the serial killers he can hang out with and talk about writing in blood, and
that's how it's done.
Notebooks. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Lloyd. Lloyd just brought me another beer because he could tell I needed it.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to email us in their picks, and hopefully they wouldn't be like creatures that are going to probably murder them in 5 seconds, like Greg, you can email us at conjecturingpod@gmail.com, or hit us up Twitter, Instagram at conjecturingpod. Or you can also leave us a voicemail. I almost forgot, on our website, podpage.com/conjecturingpod. So that'll be pretty cool. Don't do that. Oh, okay.
It's just weird. It's weird.
Can't be as worse as Greg's. That can't be as worse.
Okay, but what happens when someone decides to fuck with us and they literally leave us a voicemail like dude?
Then we play it on air.
Well, can you be in charge of the voicemails now?
We're always gonna wonder: was that real?
Oh, that's true.
Are we being haunted?
Well, I already think that with Rob's phone call from the Mothman Prophecies, I think about that like once a month. Was that real?
Once a month.
So this would not be new.
Or what happened to me? I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, what happened to you?
I don't know, you guys. I think we've made friends with whatever's happening.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. All right, good. I'm glad.
They like our content.
Yeah, whatever it is, Greg will pick it next time to have a documentary crew with him anyway, so that'll be fine. So let's get to the movie now. It's time to wander the wilderness. Let's wander the wilderness and get to our movie this week. So like we said, we're doing the Blair Witch Project, 1999 film. Co-writers, directors, you got Eduardo Sanchez and you got Daniel Myrick. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce that one. You have a budget of this movie, $300,000, which I think that's like after the fact, Laura. That's like built on like advertising and stuff. And
it's almost like their budget was higher than what they actually spent. That's almost how I took it.
Yeah, because the way the way researching I took it was like the movie itself to make and take it to, I think it was whatever was Southwest or whatever they took it to play it at the festival was only like $30,000 to make.
Sundance.
Sundance, yeah. Isn't there a Sundance festival? No, there's a Sundance. Come on, you
said Southwest,
Southwest?
like the
Southwest. No, you're thinking you were about to say South by Southwest, which is a festival, but it's not for movies.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, there you go. Yeah, it's around there somewhere. Yeah.
Rob.
Yeah, and then I believe what I read was after the fact, after it was bought by the studio, they put all that other money into creating all the marketing for it. And I think that's what they're including in the overall budget is all that stuff. But still, you have a box office of $248 million. So, jeez. I mean, that's just crazy from like nothing to that. Yeah. Laura, do you want to do some interesting facts?
Yes, I have quite a few actually on this one. Okay, this one is a mouthful, so bear with me here. Okay, the Blair Witch Project is thought to be the first widely released film marketed primarily by the internet, featuring fake police reports, as well as newsreel-style interviews and questions about the missing students, quote-unquote missing.
Yeah.
During screenings, the filmmakers made advertising efforts to publicize the events in the film as factual, including the distribution of flyers at festivals such as Sundance.
Southwest.
Asking viewers to fly the friendly skies. No.
Yeah.
Asking viewers to come forward with any information about the missing students. The IMDb page also listed these actors as missing, presumed dead, in the first year of the film's availability. And on top of all of this, Heather Donahue, that's Heather, her mother received sympathy cards from people who believed that her daughter was actually dead or missing.
Yeah.
They really,
I don't remember that aspect of it.
Real.
This was just so crazy. I mean, this is literally what we talked about for like Cloverfield and Unfriended, right? How they created all these like all these Facebook profiles and this and that and MySpace profiles, like really making you believe like this is a real event that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, 99, this is one of the first films to really do this. Like I said, making missing persons reports and stuff like that. And it's just crazy to think. And I even read somewhere that their website they had back then, it got like over like 160 million hits within like the first like 3 months of it being online, which is crazy.
You guys think they could do this? They could do that concept today? I don't think you could. And sell it to people as real? Well,
they could, but I think the backlash would be intense because
people are just so good at fact checking these days. It would be debunked within the day. I feel maybe.
Like. Yeah, I mean, Cloverfield and another movie we reviewed, Paranormal Activity, were the two that kind of did it. That's not super recent, but those are two that you believed at the time of like, whoa, like this is fucking crazy. This is a real event that happened. But this seems to be one of the first that actually did it and really spawned all these other ones to really take hold of what it's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any other facts, Laura?
I do. So one thing that I kept reading over and over again was just how, and we've talked about this with other movies, but the directors, they definitely made these actors really scared. I mean, they did tricks here and there to get an authentic scare from them. And one scene in particular where the main characters are sleeping in a tent at night, the tent suddenly starts shaking violently.
Just like us. Oh, wow. That's creepy.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
and they all got scared.
Laura. Stop it, Laura.
Like that.
What's wrong with you, Laura?
I thought you meant our answers to the question.
We don't have Oscar Wilde in here or whatever.
Take it back. Delete it. Okay. So this was totally unscripted. It was actually one of the directors shaking the tent. And the actors were actually scared.
Getting like genuine reactions.
God, yes. So messed up, but also very smart.
Yeah. Wow. You got to be really creative when you like have like a $30,000 budget and you're trying to get like genuine reactions out of people. Yeah. That's super cool. Totally. That's super cool. Yeah.
And the last fact I have here is just that this film was in the Guinness Book of World Records for top budget box office ratio for a mainstream feature film. The film cost around $60,000, as Rob said, to make, and made back that $248 million. That is a ratio of $1 spent for every $10,931 made.
Wow, that's like a whole Bitcoin right now. Yeah, that's pretty cool. You know?
I mean, yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Wow. Okay, Laura, you want to do cast?
Yeah, cast. I mean, it's basically just the three people in the tent. It's Heather Donahue as herself, Michael C. Williams as himself, and Joshua Leonard as himself.
Mm-hmm. They go by like Mike and Josh, though. It's not like, right?
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Heather
okay,
and Mike
right.
and Josh. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, Laura, you want to do synopsis?
All right, let's just keep it rolling here. Okay, Blair Witch Project. It is a found footage film about three sort of friends, I feel like. I don't know. It's kind of like acquaintances almost. I don't know.
I always took it as just like this was like jobs. Like the director, Heather,
Really?
like would like hired them to be like, you've worked the camera, like come and make this documentary. And then it seems to me like Josh brought in Mike, like they kind of knew each other. That's the way
Heather
I saw
and
it.
Josh know each other.
Yeah, and then Josh knew Mike.
No, I don't think anybody knew Mike. No one knew Mike. This is something I totally forgot. Watching this again,
Interesting.
was that they when they met Mike, they were like, "Oh, it's nice to meet you." He was like the hired hand to do the Mike, funny name, the Mike job. So that was something I didn't remember because I thought they were friends the whole time. But I think it's just Heather and Josh,
Interesting.
classmates, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
All right, cool. All right. So, we got Heather, Mike, and Josh. They want to make a documentary about the myth of the Blair Witch from Maryland. They begin this film, they interview some of the townspeople, and then they head off into the woods and camp to see what they can find. And of course, they get super lost along the way. And by the end of the film, we end up with some very scared characters who unfortunately don't return.
Mm-hmm. True. Yeah, let's actually before we actually start, I just wanted to ask you guys real fast, are you guys camping people? Do you go camping? Do you enjoy camping? What do you think? I know, Laura, you're like a lake person, right? You like lakes, right?
Yeah, but I want to stay in a house at the lake.
You're not just like chilling on the water.
I actually have really sad stories about camping. I love the idea of camping a lot, but I have had some very unfortunate things happen to me while I've been camping. And it's been so many times now that I told myself, you just can't camp.
Or are you just talking about inconveniences like, oh, I forgot the salt?
Well, okay. So 2 of my Yosemite trips I went on, one, a bear came to our campsite and trashed all our shit and rubbed up against our tent and almost came in our tent and ate us.
Whoa, that's pretty crazy.
Also, Yosemite, I was really young, and all of a sudden my dad is like, everyone get into the car. And it's because Yosemite is actually by a lesser known jail. And an inmate actually broke out and was coming through the campsite at night, and he came right through our campsite. He actually picked up our lantern and broke it on the ground.
Oh my goodness.
He was crazy. He ended up going into the water.
Jason Voorhees. Yeah.
Dude, I was so scared. I remember I was 6 and thinking when I was getting in the car, oh, I'm going to die. I'm 6 and I'm going to die. I'm going to live a really short life. Yeah, it was really traumatizing. And you guys, nothing was ever as bad as that, but I definitely I got really bad food poisoning camping once. We had our tent blow away once. We had rain when I was at sleepaway camp, and it ended up flooding, and they forgot about us. And I was up to my chest in water thinking I'm going to die out here.
Oh my goodness,
I've had cockroaches attack us in insane quantity. We went to Yosemite and had mouse droppings all over our cabin when the hantavirus, we found out when we got home that the hantavirus had been out and about in Yosemite. So yeah, I unfortunately don't like camping anymore because I just feel like I
have some type of juju.
You can cut all this, but these are all true stories.
No, that's fucking crazy. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Wow. The worst thing that happened to me was my dad would make us eat too much corned beef hash, and it would just be destroying all our stomachs. But what about you, Greg?
When I hear all of that stuff that you just said, Laura, it does sound bad. However, the way that I grew up camping, so I was in the Cub Scouts, the Boy Scouts, I look at all those things as lessons learned. And, the motto when you're camping is to be prepared. So the more you learn, the more you realize to rectify, you know, if you didn't bring something, you bring it next time. If you're not prepared for something, you are prepared for next time. So those are all like fun, I guess, fun lessons in the sense that you like the whole purpose is to get more efficient and better at it so that when you go, you're more prepared. I mean, nowadays, you know, in our age, you know, in our mid 30s, if you're going to do any camping, it's usually going to be glamping, which is like glamour camping.
Oh, I'll do that.
And you have all your amenities, you know, at your disposal. So we're more along the lines of that, but I still love camping at, you know, at my heart, at my core, just being out there and enjoying the elements.
Well, but based on that, you know, idea, Greg, of like, you know, learning from what happened for next time, what are you learning from a serial killer coming through your camp and breaking something and almost coming in your tent? Well, next time, Greg, what are you preparing for?
Well, first of all, you always have to come armed, right? I always carry some type of like blade on me so that, you know, you never know.
God, Greg.
And you have to protect your loved ones. So, you know, that doesn't deter me. And you have to, it's like, you know, Laura, you said that your dad told you guys to get in the car. That's pretty sufficient. You do what you have to do.
It was so traumatizing. My mom like busted her leg open trying to run into the car as fast as she could. My sister, who was a teenager, was being like sassy about it. She didn't know what was happening. And then my dad like stood outside the car, and I remember thinking like, is my dad like going to be okay? It was
Your dad wasn't packing like Greg with his machete or something like that, his samurai sword?
Honestly, my dad's a really big, scary looking guy. So like, he's never afraid of this shit. I feel like he's like,
wow.
what are you going to do? Oh, yeah.
Dang, wow. They needed him in the Blair Witch movie then. They should have been there.
He's like he like is a bear.
Wow, that's fucking crazy. That's crazy, man. I totally get it then, Laura. I understand why you're not camping. Shit, that's crazy.
You should replace McCready with your dad in your initial scenario.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
She can't get down with Oscar Isaac with her dad there, though. Come on.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. No, nobody.
Never mind, I take that back. That's awkward.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the movie now. Let's get into the movie. Let's not traumatize Laura on more of her memories. Okay. So let's just start with the opening of this movie, to set up the vibe, kind of setting up what's going on, the documentary, what they're doing, interviewing people, meeting a bit. Greg, what did you think of like the opening of this movie?
I thought it was great. Like I said, I forgot a lot about this movie. The first 15 minutes is just them filming around the town, which I totally forgot about. They're not even in the woods. It's a nice setup. You know, they talk to the townsfolk. You see them packing. You see them going to the store, getting items, and just talking back and forth. And I feel like without this part of the movie, you're almost at a loss for why three young people will just hike into what is seemingly the middle of nowhere. So, I mean, I remember being at this age that it seemed like they were in their maybe early 20s or whatever, doing school projects. And aside from maybe a part-time job or homework, there really isn't anything that's stopping you from embarking on these short little crazy adventures over the weekend, especially in the name of a school project. I mean, we used to do all kinds of things. So it was cool to see them prep to investigate the Blair Witch, get ready for the camping, getting their camera recording equipment all set up, getting groceries and supplies, interviewing the townsfolk. I thought it was really cool. It's a great setup.
Yeah. What about you, Laura? What do you think, like the opening, the setup vibe, all that?
Yeah, I agree. I like the opening and the setup. Obviously, I think we all love the found footage aspect of filming, right? I mean, we've said that before. I really, really like it a lot. And Rob, I think you already mentioned this, but this was legit the first time this was done. Like really, really done. So I think there's something special to add to that. And yeah, I like the setup. I liked how they were interviewing people as well. I mean, we got bits and pieces of people's stories of the Blair Witch. So I guess to recap, the story that seems to be the most accurate is that there was a woman who would prick the fingers of little kids and cause them to bleed. And then she was banished to the woods.
Did they say that in the movie?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember that one. I remember the one about, is that the one that crazy lady was talking about? Or this is somebody else? Oh, her. Okay.
Yeah. So she got banished to the woods, and now she's in the woods. And from everyone else's stories, it sounds like, she's dressed all in white. Her feet never touch the ground. And she's mostly out for children. Like a ton of kids went missing that first year that she was banished. But it also seems that kids are not, even adults. If you go out into the woods and you're either like near her, on her territory, looking for her, you're also fucked. So, really, really cool myth. I also thought that was like a true Marilyn myth. So to find out that it was just another thing that was all made up by these directors, I thought was really cool.
Can I just add one thing to what you were saying, Laura? Is like when they were interviewing the locals, I really liked that whole, that whole sequence of them filming different stories of the locals. I thought was really cool. It felt very effective, the way that these different people had different types and ways of retelling their stories, and they were like splicing it together, right? They had different anecdotes of different lengths, different moods, and varying levels of credibility, right? There was like that middle-aged guy, there was the woman holding the crying baby, and then the old man whose story seemed to be the most legit and the longest, talking about that old guy who
It's like a serial killer or something like that, right?
And the way they spliced that together made it seem realistic. I mean, they weren't all on the same track, they weren't all in the same age, and they had varying levels of, how believable the stories were. And I really liked that little sequence there.
Yeah, because I think the two I really took away from was the old man telling the story about that serial killer guy that, like 7 kids went up there and 7 of them, they found 7 bodies in the home later on and this and that. So I took that one more as factual rather than like the witch ones itself. So I was taking that one. And then I thought it was funny though with that lady carrying the kid and she's trying to tell the story and the kid's like trying to cover her mouth. Like, don't say it. Don't say the spooky story. Like I thought that was pretty fun. I don't know if that
was really cute.
I don't know if that was like, I mean, I know that's an actor, of course, the mom, and maybe it probably is her actual child. But I wonder if like the directors were like telling the kids to do that, or if that kid's just doing that. Because I thought that was actually super cool in that scene of that kid being like, "Don't tell the story, don't tell the story." I thought that was super funny.
The kid was just doing it, and honestly, like as a parent, I feel like the kid was just doing it to be a dick. Like, I don't want you to talk right now. I don't think it had anything to do with what she was actually saying.
Yeah, but it came off so well.
Like, kids, I'm sure the director was like, "Oh my god,
like, this is gold." Cool. Oh my god, yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, I mean, beyond that, the one thing you guys haven't really talked about yet too is just like the opening, of course, crawl, whatever you want to call it, the opening statement of every found footage movie of being like, this is the date this happened. This is kind of what happened. These 3 students went to make a documentary film. This is their footage that was found, and just that right away. We've talked about this in Paranormal. We talked about it in Cloverfield. Right when you get some type of like documentation of something saying this is real, like you automatically get on edge more. I even liked the way that right when you start the movie, you have the opening like production studios and their images are vibrating, like shaking themselves. I thought was actually a really cool touch, and it kind of, carried through with the whole movie of like a shaky camera. But I really liked the opening too. I thought it was a really good opening of setting everything up and this and that, until they actually get to like the woods and stuff like that. But let's talk a little bit more about the directing, the found footage-ness of this. Laura touched on it a little bit. We said this is one of the first films to kind of do this. Some people, of course, say, like every found footage movie, that it's too shaky and it's nauseating. Yeah. I didn't think this was that bad compared to Cloverfield. I thought was worse.
Oh, I think this is worse.
Really? I was going to ask you guys, what did you guys think of the shaky cam itself? Laura, do you want to go first then? I
just remember in theaters, it was really bad. I thought this was bad, but it might be because it was the first found footage I'd ever, style film I'd ever seen. Mm-hmm. And then now I've seen them, and most of the time I see it on my own screen at home, so it's not as bad. Watching this again a few days ago, it wasn't bad at all, but I just remember that feeling. But I think it probably was because I wasn't used to it. I'd never really seen anything like that.
Interesting. What about you, Greg? How did you feel about it, either in theaters or just watching it the other day?
Neither. I don't remember that was never a memory for me that it was bad, and watching again, I never thought it was bad.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I honestly can't really remember that well, like seeing it in theaters. I don't remember, of course, having any type of feeling either way about like, oh my goodness, I couldn't like stand it or anything like that. I've never been a motion sickness person, so
I really am. Yeah.
So maybe that doesn't bother me at all. But I thought it was really effective in this movie of like the found footage-ness, the directing style of them and everything. It definitely felt super real. I haven't really. Did you read anything, Laura, about did any of these actors actually do a big part of the filming, or it was just seemed that way?
From what I read, I think one of them, I forget. I think it was Josh, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was actually a film student, so very similar to Paranormal. Mm-hmm. Micah, he was a film student when they hired him to do the job. So I think they did take his footage, but I don't know how much it made in the film.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's crazy. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it is really effective. Shakiness or not, it adds to the realness it makes you feel in
Mhm.
scenes, especially when it's almost like a fuck up of like a camera like zooming into the ground or something's out of focus. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like in a normal production of a movie, like that's not supposed to be there, but in this type of movie, it just adds to the realness you feel while watching it. So I think it's super effective for what it's trying to convey.
Mhm.
Yeah, I remember walking out of this movie when we first watched it and thinking it was real. And,
Mm,
of course, watching the film, it's ambiguous as to what actually happens to the students. So at the time when you left the theater, you actually walked out thinking, hey, maybe this was real. Maybe they're just showing us evidence of something that might have happened. I mean, if you saw 3 students go into the forest and they were just hacked to death, that wouldn't be a movie, clearly. But the ambiguity of it made it feel plausible.
mm.
And on top of that, I mean, can the 3 of us agree that the actors' performances are pretty on point? I mean, so much that if the film was real, I don't know that a lot of people would be able to tell the difference.
That's true. That's true. What do you think, Laura? Let's get into a little bit of like your experience watching it for the first time, Laura, in the theater. And I know I think you said in a Paranormal, Laura, right, that you like not freaked out after watching it, but you had to research like, was this real? Because you were so like nervous about it.
Blair Witch, it's a funny story. I mean, it came out in 1999, you guys. I was like a freshman in high school. So, maybe I was a sophomore actually. Anyway, I was still pretty young. I remember we went to the theater, me and a friend, to see one thing, and then we snuck into Blair Witch. I don't think it's even because they wouldn't let us, because we didn't have a theater that was strict about the R rating. But I think it was just that we like didn't want our parents to know we were seeing Blair Witch. We were like, oh, we're going to go see this. And then just decided to go see that instead. I remember at the time being, it's a weird feeling you almost can't describe. Like I've never seen anything like this before,
Yes. Uh-huh.
which is huge. However, this movie did not have a lasting effect on me. So even though I remember that feeling, I quickly forgot about it. And so my biggest thing with this rewatch was, does this stand up in 2021?
Interesting.
And I don't know if this is your question, if we should get there yet, but I'm just saying that my theater experience, I do remember being a little motion sickness, a little scared, and being like, oh, wow, I've never seen anything like this before. Yeah. So it was mostly positive.
Yeah, we can get into that later when we have to do some Rotten Tomatoes scores, because they're mind blowing a bit, and it's actually super relevant what you're talking about there.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Okay, let's just get into characters acting then. Greg, do you want to start? You already spotted out their acting a bit in this movie.
Yeah, it's all about. So if you're from their perspective, you have to imagine it's all about believability. You have to sell this on, this is believable found footage film. So to me, I thought they succeeded. There's a lot of these small humanizing moments, and it's not just all being horrified by something, when they're first filming at that cemetery and they see those piles of rocks and they accidentally knock one of the piles over, and Heather puts one of the rocks back on top and she kind of kisses the pile and she's like, can't be too careful. There's so many of these like little moments that make them normal people when they're sitting by the fire and they're talking about Gilligan's Island or whatever. If they had beer on the island, there'd be these massive orgies, or like being a person that does camp and does disconnect from the real world and just kicks back and shoots the shit with your friends. That definitely sounded like the type of random conversations that you would have with people. And there's so many of these moments where, there was that time where Mike and Heather were, they had lost Josh at some point and they were randomly choosing which way to go. And Mike was like, this makes no sense. But he goes, who was worse, the Wicked Witch of the West or the East? And she goes, West was the bad one. And he's like, let's go East. I mean, it's at that point they've like sort of lost their minds. And there's so many moments like that where when you catch it on camera, you feel like you get out of it being a film production and more of just, it's like found footage where her hair gets caught in her backpack, or when she's washing the blood off of her hands and she's freaking out putting her gloves on, or Mike just casually chewing on a dead leaf. There's a lot of these moments that make them feel like human, and it really sold me. That's definitely me. I'm chewing on a dead leaf.
You're just like, you've lost it, and you're like, I'm dead on the inside.
There's
why not eat
nutrients
this dead
there
leaf?
somewhere.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, what about you, Laura? What did you think of the characters acting in this movie?
I thought it was mostly good. I don't know. My notes kept changing while I was watching this movie. I thought Heather was super extra for the most part. But I'm extra, so I guess who am I to talk? I feel like her and I probably just wouldn't get along because we'd both be like, this is my documentary. No, this is mine, you know.
Yeah.
But then I also know that these are improv actors from the research I've done. And a lot of these scenes are improv, and all those scenes at the end, like her with the camera up to her face, crying with the snot, saying we're so naive and I'm so sorry to the moms. That was all improv.
Wow.
And knowing that, I'm just so impressed that I feel like it doesn't matter what I wrote down in my notes because just like, you know, I'm bowing down to you. Like that's amazing.
Incredible.
Yeah. So I thought that was just really impressive. But when I'm watching it, do I love them? No. Do I care about them? Not really. They don't really have any qualities that make you care about them. They're just,
yeah, I mean, that's one of the biggest negatives for this movie people talk about. It's just like, a lot of people that don't like this movie really shout out of just like all they do is scream at each other for half this movie and just being like, that's annoying. You know, people are annoyed by them. So it's not really, you know, it's hard to like somebody that's just screaming at each other. You know, there's laughs here and there a bit, but it's not really them. So, but I'm like you, Laura, like, yeah, I read too that a lot of this was just improvised. It was very like, whatever you want to call it, Unfriended, same thing. They did a lot of the just chat with each other. Here's the structure of what we're trying to get done in the scene. I know in Unfriended, we talked about that when things got real and they really had to, you could tell beyond a script that I thought their acting lacked a little bit. You know, I thought, you know, this was actually pretty straightforward all along in this movie, at least. You know, I think maybe it's way more improvised than anything else. I thought for sure that crying scene was fully scripted. I thought that was the one scene they would have scripted. So I'm actually super surprised to hear that wasn't. And then kudos to her because that was actually a really, really good scene. So I thought their acting was pretty good. But it's crazy to think like you're saying their acting is good, but they're not really acting. They're improvising, they're joking around and this and that, you know, so it's kind of weird. And that's one thing too, I read that what's her name, Heather? Is that her name? She like didn't get a lot of gigs after this. And she like shouted at a lot of stuff of just like, yeah, people really not typecasted her, but just never gave her a chance because of that. Because people were like, well, you weren't really acting. You were just kind of like joking around and improvising. It's not the same thing. So it was actually interesting. It really halted her career, it seemed like, from what she said, which is kind of crazy. That's
too bad.
Yeah,
hey, can I call out one acting job that I was one of my favorites though? It had nothing to do with these three.
Oh,
it was the two fishermen in the beginning of this movie when they're interviewing the town folk and you've got these two guys fishing in the creek at the edge of the forest. Like we literally spent about a minute with these two guys. Yeah. But even in that time, that interaction to me felt so real. I love their dynamic. You've got that younger guy who's willing to talk about the story of the Blair Witch, but he was also kind of skeptical. But then you had maybe his dad or whatever.
Yeah,
he's this old guy who he was trying to pretend that he wasn't listening or, you know, he didn't want to talk about the Blair Witch. But then as they were doing the interview, he would just start chiming in and correcting the younger guy and swearing he's seeing things in the forest while he's fishing. And these two guys were sort of hilarious and it felt so natural. I really loved that like 60-second bit with these two guys.
Yeah, that was a super funny scene, those two guys together, where the one guy's just like, oh bullshit, shut up over there. Let me talk and this and that. Yeah. They might have been just two guys they found on the riverbed that they were like, hey, just tell us stories about maybe something you saw, you know?
Oh man, so good.
That's so fun. That's so funny. Yeah, let's get into like a little bit more of the story now a bit, you know, because that's the one thing about this movie is you really have half this movie of them yelling at each other about being lost during the day. And then at night is when stuff is kind of getting crazy. You know what I mean? Some of the day stuff sets up the night stuff, but it's very paranormal-ish, you know, where you're just waiting for the night scenes to happen because that's when shit's going to go down.
Yeah.
So let's get into like the horror-ish elements, the scares, kind of like that part of it. If one of you guys want to set up kind of where we're at a bit, maybe, you know, a little third into this movie when stuff kind of starts going down. What do you think, Laura?
One thing that keeps happening that I did think was really cool was the rock piles. I think that is scary.
That's like the first thing.
It's effective. It's something so simple, but it's like rock piles are appearing and it's like there's one for each of them. That's just like a creepy concept. So I think that was really cool. But I'm sorry, you guys. Everything else that you just said, like I probably fall into the audience of whoever's giving it these not great reviews, I was fucking bored.
Really?
I was so like, all the daytime scenes are the same thing over and over again. And they don't do it 2 or 3 times. They do it like 8 times.
It's like 7, 8 times. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like, okay, this is today's, what's on the agenda today? You're lost again.
Yeah,
cool.
exactly.
That's
Yeah.
it. That's the only thing. It's like, and I've mentioned this before, but it was another movie where I, without thinking, picked up my phone and I started scrolling my phone and realizing, oh my God, I'm watching a movie. I was that taken out. Like, this is boring. And at night things happened, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough for me. I like, okay, yeah, their tent is shaking. Yeah, there's this, there's that. They hear noises, but I was so bored during the day. I'm like, let's get to it. And then I started to remember, because I'd seen this before, what the ending is. And I'm like, I'm never going to get to it. This movie falls flat in this way. So,
wow.
Yep, I'm putting it out there. Yeah.
Well, this comes from Laura, who was almost murdered by a serial killer in real life in a tent. Like, why would any of this scare you?
Hey, you guys are the ones that called him a serial killer. I don't know what his crime was. I just know he was a convict.
He was probably he was a tax evader. Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but still, like, you've had all these crazy experiences in your life of all these things that happen to you while camping, all sound horrible compared to this movie. Laura's like, fuck rocks, like fucking this crazy shit. I almost got eaten by a bear. You know what I mean? And I don't think me and Greg have those experiences. We have a more positive camping experience. I have a whole thing with aliens. That's another story. That's why I'm not going in the woods. But all these things in this movie do give me like the heebie-jeebies. They do scare me. Like the whole knowing that like you're in a tent or you're like in your campsite and everything is like pitch black around you and you can't see farther than maybe like 3 feet. And then you just hear like noises in the distance of cracking leaves or a stick.
Oh, yeah.
Not even to mention like the craziness that they hear later on. Just like that simpleness of knowing something's there in the darkness and you don't know what it is. That to me is enough to freak the shit out of me. What about you, Greg? Where are you aligned with that?
Yeah, just first of all, to speak on what you just said, Rob, I do agree that they recreated the camping vibe so well. In the middle of the night, you're woken up by the snapping twigs and the cracking rocks, in the dark off in the distance. And when they ought to be the only ones out there, talking about Yosemite, we've camped at Yosemite. And I remember when you're there, you're in your tent, when we heard breaking twigs outside of your tent, which sounded like maybe 30 feet away, you freaked the F out. It was scary as fuck. You thought maybe there was a bear.
Walking to a bathroom. Come on, man.
I know, but the idea is like it's out there and you're in here, and they did a great job of recreating that, going outside of the tent. Anytime you heard that zzz, the zippering sound of the tent, it was so familiar to me. And then once you're outside, like you said, Rob, you're peering into the darkness of your surrounding. And it's like maybe they did a good job of panning around and you can maybe see a tree or two within the first couple of feet. And then maybe a few dimly lit trees 10 feet behind those. But then past that, that's it, bro. Yeah. It's pitch black. It's so creepy. I happen to disagree with Laura on, I think they did a really good job of making it seem creepy to me as a person who thinks about going out into the wilderness and being out in the middle of nowhere. Like, when I was little with my brother and we would like be motorcycling out to these random places in the desert, we happened to come across this random place where it was like supposedly a serial killer was out there. And it was basically like this structure made of corrugated aluminum that with like topple down walls, and you would walk through it and there was a bunch of like used lipstick and hangers like just on the ground everywhere.
There's like Buffalo Bill out there. What the hell?
And pictures of like women models and stuff. And it was so creepy. And it feels like coming across this, like discovering it out in which a place that should be the middle of the nowhere is so creepy. So like anytime that they came across like a pile of rocks, right? Or like these weird voodoo stick creatures hanging from the trees. And look, we're not talking about temporary, like permanent things. I'm saying like a structure that, maybe it was built 100 years ago. We're talking about a pile of rocks that should have been obliterated by the elements or like a forest creature or something. in the middle of nowhere. So I find that is very creepy to me because you feel like that there's something out there.
The story you just told about what you and your brother found is a million times scarier than rocks. What the fuck? Also, you ride a motorcycle?
When we were younger, we did. Yeah.
What?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so did I. I rode motorcycles. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, when you were like kids. I mean, back then the rules didn't really apply.
Riding a motorcycle?
Like a dirt bike. Like a dirt bike, probably.
No, it was an actual motorcycle. Like we didn't really have rules back then.
Like a Harley Davidson? What are you, crotch rocket? What were you riding?
No, just I don't know. I have no idea. When you're 8 and there's like a motorcycle around, it's just a motorcycle.
There's a motorcycle around.
You just explained it. You're 8.
Right, I think it's called like a big wheelie. A big wheel.
Like
no, I'm serious. It's like there were actual motorcycles that we'd ride around the desert in.
An electric scooter.
It was not. Look, this is my point. It's like I feel like they did a good job of making you feel like these guys, like, you know, you're talking about getting bored looking at your phone after like the 4th day. But for me, in my mind, I'm picturing, okay, this is just another day of them getting deeper and deeper into the woods. And to me, I loved the progression of that. Like, there was something, for example, like about Mike's raw outbursts that seems so real to me. 3 times. I mean, the first time when they just got lost in the woods, they're just walking around randomly, and he's like, "Help us, please, fuck!" Like, I felt that. His like guttural yells are somehow just reverberated in my body. The second time when Josh goes missing, they wake up to like that screaming.
Oh,
and when he's like, "Josh, where are you?" And then he yells again. He's almost crying and his voice is crackling. "Tell me where you are, Josh." I felt that. I felt like someone, like he was a person who was desperately trying to save a friend or a family member, and he was calling out to them. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, toward the end, I know we're not there yet, but when they enter the house and they hear the muffled screaming, he's like, "Downstairs, I hear him downstairs. Come on." I mean, just like this, the desperation. I know maybe you weren't really into it, Laura, but for me, like, I was able to put myself there, and their slow decline in getting more mad and aggressive, getting lost in the woods. The way I look at it is, anytime I've been camping, we've always had a map. We've always had a trail. We know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. When you're out there in the middle of nowhere and you think you're going to die because you have no idea where you are, you're probably very mad at the people around you.
Yeah. No, every scene you just pointed out, I agree. That acting is really well done because the stakes are very high. Like, something really serious is happening. But if we backtrack a little bit, when you're talking about them camping and it's pitch black and they hear crackling and you've camped and you remember that feeling, it's pitch black. I'm sorry, but we all sign up for that when we go camping. We all sign up for it. They signed up for this. You go camping, you know you're going to be camping in pitch darkness with noises of nature. And I feel like, at least for us, maybe not them, they're characters in a movie, when we go camping, I don't think we actually get scared when we hear those noises because we know they're coming. And we also know, like, that's probably not a ghost. That's probably not a witch. That's probably not a serial killer.
There's a daycare in the middle of the forests.
We're not talking about the same thing.
Yeah. We're not there to the crazy. We're just talking about the sticks right now and this and that. Like Laura's talking about like the first night when they are slightly hearing things. Like I said, I'm already scared when I hear a stick break. You know, in my mind.
So you're not a camper then. I thought you were a camper.
I like I said, I went camping when we were very young with my dad. So like that was it. I don't remember. Once I started, got scared by Fire in the Sky. No, I'm never going in the woods again. You know what I mean? So if I hear a stick break in the woods, I'm automatically like, I'm getting abducted tonight. So like that's nothing even on this movie. That's alien stuff. But it's just, I'm so scared of like the unknown. And we talk about that a lot on this podcast of like the unknown is always scarier than the known. Mm-hmm. So to me, just knowing something's there, and you can assume all you want. It's a deer. It's a fucking cute little bunny. But like the unknown is fucking terrifying of like, what actually is it? And this isn't like you said, Laura, like I've been camping, I guess more as an adult, actually. Me and my wife, we did a trip for our honeymoon and stuff like that. Where we actually camped in like a campsite and there was like RVs next to you and bathrooms. And, it's still camping, but you're like on a lot. And so like, I'm not scared in that setting because I know there's noise and I know there's people. Like this of like you're in the middle of nowhere and there's like nothing around you and you hear stuff that to me is bone chilling because I feel like you shouldn't be hearing really anything.
But you also wouldn't make that decision to go do that.
Oh,
they did.
Hell no.
They had to have known that they were going to hear some shit.
The only way I would do it is if we agreed to do it for the podcast and we record it. That's the only way I would ever do it.
I feel like if we camped in someone's backyard, something would happen and we'd all freak the fuck out.
That's so true. That's so true. You're so right. You're so right. All right. So let's get into more of the craziness of the nighttime scenes. Let's not talking about the daytime. All they do is yell at each other. We know they're lost for fucking this movie. It doesn't matter. Let's get into like the actual crazy, like Greg talked about, when they start hearing like voices, I think in the distance, like you said, you have the scene where to me, it sounded like children laughing. And I think that's when the tent was shaking. All the stuff that's kind of happened before Josh disappears, which is a whole nother thing to me. So was that stuff, Laura, was that effective on you more when it gets a little bit crazier, a little bit creepier? What do you think, Laura?
I think that it is creepy. The problem is that I don't remember these specific scenes on my first watch. I just remember the end.
Well, of course, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I wasn't scared this time around because it quickly came back to me, the ending. And I was like, oh, well, nothing's going to happen in this scene then.
Oh, you did it like that? That's not fair, Laura. Come on. That's a cop-out.
What?
That's like a cop-out. That's like
saying... That's just what happens.
I know.
I've seen a movie before.
I know, but that means like you're not really like in the moment. You're not in the scene, like trying to think like what it would feel to like actually be like in that moment of like you're in the dark. You know nobody's out there, and you hear fucking children laughing. Like what the fuck? You know what I mean? Laura's over there playing.
I was literally playing solitaire on my phone.
Yeah, I was gonna say solitaire, Laura. Yeah.
I love that line. Like Josh's sheer denial. Can't believe that he hears killed kids. He's like, did you hear that baby screaming? Shut the fuck up, man. There's no fucking baby out there, man. There's no fucking baby out there. Like, that's how I feel like a lot of people would be, because it's like, you can't imagine. You're so terrified. You can't imagine there's just giggling children outside of your tent.
Yeah.
I have a hard time with this movie because in essence, it's very scary. And I wish that I was watching this for the first time because I think I would be scared. Problem is that I saw it so long ago. I forgot all about this movie. And then as I'm watching it, it all comes flooding back and I'm kind of bored, like waiting for it to, I don't know. I just like the setup was so good and then I'm in it and I'm like, yeah, this is crazy, but this is also clearly the 90s and it's 2021.
Yeah, giggling spirits don't just do it for Laura anymore. No, it's not enough anymore.
Laura, if you were in Heather's position, do you think that you would take this whole thing the way that she did, or do you think you would do better?
No. Well, here's the thing. I think that the problem with her character is that 99% of people would not film this. If you knew you were in some shit, you would stop filming. And you'd be like survival mode, getting home, getting out of the woods. And so I think that's a issue I had with her character and maybe other people have with her character. But I also read that in her improv, she understood I need to be someone that would continue filming. So I need to be that like extra, as I said earlier. She needs to be that extra to be like, I'm going to keep filming. I don't fucking care. Like, maybe this will be the last footage anyone sees of me. And I totally respect that. And I think she nailed it as far as that acting goes. Mm-hmm. But I can't put myself in her shoes because I would have fucking dropped the camera ages ago and just gotten the hell out of there.
Let me respond to this. Hold on. Okay, Rob, earlier on, you were talking about you would hire HUD to be your number 2 man for this. Okay. Mm-hmm. This got me thinking with respect to what you just said, Laura. So in Cloverfield, for example, it was the understanding that the guy holding the camera felt important and he felt useful to do that. And that he felt like what was happening around him was so unprecedented that people need to see this. So it was his duty. Okay. I feel like with Heather here, it's a lot different, but they still very explicitly say why she continues to film. I mean, for her, it seemed like by continuing to film, despite what was going on, it was her way to disconnect from the reality of the situation. There's that moment, of course, you guys remember where Josh picks up the camera, he starts to film her while she's panicking about them being lost. And he's like, oh, this is why you like cameras so much. It's not quite reality. It's like a filtered reality, man. You can just pretend that everything's not quite the way it is. So I feel like demonstrating that to me was good enough to explain her motive. And to me personally, it set set the tone, and it quieted my internal dialogue. Anytime I started asking, why the hell are you still filming this? I kind of reverted to that scene. I felt like this is what she needs. Like, you didn't feel that watching her and doing what she was doing?
No. I wouldn't have done that. I mean, I just put myself in her shoes, and I'm like, I wouldn't do this. But I also wouldn't be out there making a documentary about this in the first place. So it's really hard to do that, you know?
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. Wow, I can't believe it, Laura. I can't believe none of this is working on you yet. So, okay, let's get to me, the most bone-chilling thing in this movie to me. I'm scared by a twig, so we'll just get that up front. But to me, the thing that in this movie that really... where I like paused the movie because I was like, fuck this shit. Like, I don't want to even think about this right now, is when Josh goes missing. So at one point in this movie, they kind of have like a thing in this movie where, like we joked about in the beginning, Josh kicked over one of the 7 rocks, which we assume are some type of like either Indian burial site or something like that of 7 people that were murdered. So it seems like whatever's happening is kind of focused on Josh. At one of the nights they wake up and Josh's stuff is all torn apart and there's slime on it or something like that. So they go to sleep later on, and then they wake up and Josh is gone. They don't know where he is. He's gone. They spend another 20-minute day scene screaming, Josh, where are you? Another screaming scene, whatever. But it gets to nighttime again. He's still not back. And then you have, to me, the most bone-chilling thing is you hear Josh like screaming for help in the darkness of the night, which I'm already scared of the dark. But then to hear him yelling for help, and they're like, Josh, where are you? Where are you? And then it's dead quiet, and you hear him screaming from somewhere like, help me or whatever. To me, that is the most bone-chilling thing in this movie. The ending aside, I think the ending is pretty fucked up and crazy. But to me, this scene when Josh is screaming, it's the thing that gets me the most in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Laura, what do you think?
I'm like, okay. Yeah, I'm agreeing with you.
Oh,
like,
you do. So
crazy.
is that one thing in this movie that actually did get you? You felt like that? You put down your phone finally?
I think it's all effective. Like, I'm looking at it and I'm trying to like step away from my bias because I understand that I have one right now. Mm-hmm. And these things are scary and they are effective. And I applaud that. Mm-hmm. Did it get me in my watch? No.
Really?
It didn't.
Wow.
I'm sorry it didn't.
So you're just like checking out. You're waiting for the end to happen.
You're waiting for Oscar to solve.
You're waiting for Oscar Isaac to pop in your tent. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Give it a 5 out of 5.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. All right. Well, Greg, how did you feel about that scene that scared the shit out of me?
It was so creepy. First of all, yes, because there's no trace of him. How did he get out of the tent and just suddenly disappear without, the one thing that we can all agree on is when we're in that situation, sticking together is the number one priority. That's your prerogative, is to stay together. The moment that you split up, and that's when everybody starts dying. So you need to get together. And so for him to just mysteriously disappear when they wake up without an explanation is so terrifying. And then beyond, just the noises that they hear in the night, to me, taking it one step is the feeling like they were being lured. This is the thing, is when Mike and Heather, they woke up in the tent in the middle of the night to this echoey, horrific, painful sounding wailing. Like you said, it sounds like he's screaming, but it's not very clear what he's screaming or what he's saying. It's almost like a muffled screaming way off in the distance. He's screaming in some kind of agony, right? But then did you guys remember what Mike said? He goes, is it a trick? Are they tricking us? Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's really him. Yeah. That was so creepy. It kind of reminded me of T-1000 in Terminator 2 impersonating John Connor's voice, where it's like this feeling
my God.
You're being lured, like they're trying to lure them out of the tent into the forest. Mm-hmm. That was so creepy to me. There's a lot of movies that employ this technique, especially horror movies, and it's always really creepy. This scene was definitely the biggest turn of events in the movie.
Yeah, I can't believe it, Laura. It just doesn't get you. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Look at.
When we go camping, Laura, I'm just gonna go off in the night when you're camping, and I'm gonna be like, Laura, help me, and Laura's gonna be like, fuck this guy.
I actually think I will be the most scared person because as Greg was talking, I'm looking at his Zoom background of the snowy, dark hedge maze of The Shining, and I'm thinking, if we were having this discussion actually outdoors right now in the dark, I would be shitting bricks. I'd be like, fuck this shit. Where,
Shitting
like,
rocks.
oh my, yeah.
Yeah. A pile of rocks. Yeah.
So I'm just, I'm recognizing that I'm having a bias problem.
Yeah, you
right
can't.
now.
You just can't like get into like that setting, that time frame. You can't.
Yeah, it's just, I've seen too many other found footage films since this. I don't really remember it that well, so it didn't stick with me. And then like the ending came flooding back, and as cool as I thought it was, it also like, we've seen more at this point.
Yeah.
I wish that there was more. I mean, you know, we always talk about like, the less you see is scary to a point, but if you see nothing, I mean, that's just like, we need more and more and more. We're getting more desensitized.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, speaking of that, it's something I want to bring up because I read this and I wanted to actually talk about it. There's one scene in this movie where I can't remember if they're all still together or not, or if Josh is gone, but they actually run out of the tent and they're running in the dark, and you hear Heather yell out like, "What was that? What was that?" Like she saw something finally. And I read this because so it says, according to the filmmaker's commentary, I think it was on like a documentary they made about the movie, the unseen figure that Heather yells about when she's running away from the tent is the film's art director, Richard Marino, who was wearing white long johns, white stockings, a white pantyhose pulled over his head.
Ugh.
Oh my God.
It was initially intended for the figure to be revealed on camera as the Blair Witch herself.
What?
But the cameraman who was filming forgot to pan to the left to show it, and then they didn't recreate it again. So they just left it. So it was in that scene when she's running and she sees something. She did see something. It was the art director dressed in all white, like a creepy ghost.
We just didn't see it.
And the cameraman was supposed to pan over, but he didn't. And then they didn't recreate it to get the shot. So you know what I mean? And like, like reading that now, I really wish they would have been like, can we do a take two, please? Because like you said, Laura, you really don't see anything in this movie. Even at the end, you still don't see anything. And I feel like that one shot really, I think, would have been needed. I still think this movie is creepy. I still think the unknown gets me. But I feel like you, Laura, if you would have had at least one scene where you fucking kind of see something, it would have been a big difference. So I just think it's so messed up and fucked up that they didn't read. Like, you had it in the script. You had the shot. Like, just do it one more time, because I think it really would have made a difference for people like you, Laura, that just don't think there was enough in this. You know what I mean?
It's called the Blair Witch, but you don't actually get to see any witch of any kind, really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
and then to learn that this myth is bogus and it doesn't even exist, like, at least give me something.
Yeah. I just read that and I was like, oh, it kind of like bummed me out a bit to be like, oh, come on, you guys, why didn't you do it? You know, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But one more thing I want to talk about before we get to the ending is the scene where Heather finds something in a pile of sticks.
Right.
Oh yeah, can you guys tell me what body part that was?
I can.
Okay, because I was going to ask you guys. I couldn't tell either. Greg.
Okay, to me, this is what I saw. She opened up. It was a bundle of sticks wrapped in clearly what was torn pieces of Josh's flannels. By the way,
John,
if you name is Josh and you wear a flannel. Jonel.
I don't think anybody's name is Jonels. I've never heard that name before. I don't know if I have another child. I got the name now, Jonels.
I've had too much of this drink, Laura. Okay, so
it's straight alcohol. I am so buzzed right now.
That's so funny.
She unwraps this bundle of sticks and she opens up this Jonel, right? And to me, this is what I saw. I saw a severed tongue, and then I saw some teeth.
What the fuck? That's not what
you saw the teeth. You know, she pushed open the flap toward the end, and there was just a bunch of teeth there. So really? I feel like since I saw this movie in the theater, I've always seen that.
Yeah, see, I couldn't tell in the moment watching this again right now, you know, like whatever last night or the night before, of like what actually was in there. I just assumed from a storytelling perspective, like Josh is screaming in the distance, I would assume it would be his tongue, kind of like tying in him yelling, you know, it's from his mouth. But I wasn't 100% like, oh, that's a tongue. I just assumed that, but I didn't see the teeth. I did read later on that they did say something that like fake teeth were used, and I'm like, oh, it must have been in that scene, but I didn't see it.
Oh, yeah, I have the luck luxury of YouTube on my phone, so I rewound it a couple of times. And clearly, the first time you see it, you have the triangular, pinkish, bloody organ. It's a tongue. And then when she unfolds the flap, it's a bunch of small, little ivory-colored pieces. So you just have to imagine it's the teeth. Damn. I don't know for sure, though. It's really gross.
Yeah, I wonder what prop they use, because to me, it didn't look like you didn't see it and you were like, oh, that's a tongue. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder what they used to make it, because to me, it wasn't very definitive.
But isn't that a good thing? I was thinking about this, and I thought if it looked too much like a tongue, or they zoomed in and it would have looked really overproduced and faked, that would have taken me out of it. I kind of like the fact that I couldn't tell very definitively what it was. But you just got a shape. You know?
I'm the opposite. I would have just rather it been like 10 feet long, like Gene Simmons' tongue. And I'm like, okay, clearly it's a tongue. All right, I get it, Because this is almost like in Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, when they're playing with that little doohickey. And she's like, oh, I know it's a robot. And I'm like, why? Why do you know this is a robot tool? Like, it's just like a little mechanism. I have no idea. So it's like that. Like, I wish there was more of something displaying what they're exactly telling me. Why are you shaking your head, Laura? Whatever.
I don't know. This is just getting real crazy. I don't know.
Well, we're trying to do something, Laura, because you don't even know what's happening in this movie. You're out of it already. You're playing Scrabble.
You played Scrabble?
This is not like the thing.
Okay.
I am aware of what is happening right now.
You just don't care. Okay. All right.
It's not true. I'm still passionate.
All right. So I think we can get to the ending now then, because really beyond that, you're to the end of this movie. So who wants to set up the ending of this movie? I don't know if Laura should do it because she cares about this part actually, or if Greg should do it. What do you think, Laura?
I think Greg should do it because he's really passionate.
He's really passionate.
Wow, I'm passionate. Okay.
Yeah, you got the silver tongue, Greg. Go for it.
Break it down very quickly.
Why is it a silver tongue?
Isn't that a saying? The silver tongue? Isn't that like a gift of gab? The silver tongue?
That's news to me. All right, listeners, email us. Let us know what the silver tongue means.
I think we're all drunk right now. I think we're all drunk in the fucking woods. We're in our mates.
See, I'd actually be crying. I would actually have snot coming out of my nose.
Okay, so on the last night, Heather and Mike, again, they hear the wailing sounds of Josh off in the distance. They go out in the night looking for him since they can hear what sounds like him crying out. They stumble across, oh my God, a house in the middle of nowhere. It's clearly the house of, if you recall back to the beginning when they were interviewing the townsfolk, they were talking about that serial killer, something Parr, and killing those kids. As you go through this house and you see the footage, it's clearly his house. So it's a random house structure in the middle of the woods, 2 stories, broken windows. There's wood everywhere. It's totally dilapidated, busted up drywall, exposed brickwork. I mean, you got this occult looking symbols written on the walls. It doesn't really mean anything.
I saw the handprints. I saw that.
Oh, that was really weird.
Well, to me, that just tied in the whole, like, hearing the children laughing in that one scene,
Yeah. And it just, again, it's just stuff that's it's not explicit what it means, but just gets you thinking, while they're frantically looking through this house, looking for Josh, because they heard his screaming coming from this direction. It just gets you thinking. So Mike hears, like I said earlier, he hears Josh's voice in the basement. He charges down there. And then from his POV, it seems like he gets knocked out. His camera falls to the ground when he thinks he sees Josh. And then it switches to Heather's POV because she has the second camera. And then she goes down to the basement and you see, she's having a hard time keeping up with Mike. So she's continuing screaming, Mike, get back here. She finally catches up to him in the basement. And then you see Mike standing in the corner. And it's creepy because she's screaming at him and he just doesn't move. This is similar to like when we review Unfriended, when you have someone who's so animated throughout the entire movie and vocal, and then just in an instant, they're inexplicably unresponsive and they don't make a sound, they don't make a movement. This was Mike's moment for this. He's just standing in the corner, not doing, like looking away in the corner, not doing anything. And then boom, she gets knocked out too. You hear kind of a thud, her camera falls to the ground, and the credits start rolling. And really, the ending is really just, it's up to the interpretation of the viewer, what happens and what it means.
Yeah. So what did you think of the ending, Greg? Did you like it? Did you not like it?
I remember watching it in the theater. Literally everybody was confused. Everybody walked out like, what happened? I mean, my understanding is that the Blair Witch or some type of Blair Witch spirit that's associated with her she possessed these three, right? Or, because they were trespassing on her grounds, and especially, with Josh kicking over the pile of rocks, they were trespassing. She had them killed for that, and them getting into her territory, getting into her house. It's the spirit of the Blair Witch that got them lost in the woods and got them turning against each other. So my thinking is that, the Blair Witch, the spirit of the Blair Witch came in and killed them somehow. I mean, you don't really see anybody, which is unfortunate. You want to see something.
Yeah.
You don't. You could have YouTube on your iPhone like I do. You don't see anything, but it's up to your imagination. Yeah. So it's, it makes you wonder like what happened, but it doesn't matter. These three don't make it out alive.
Okay. What about you, Laura? This is the only thing you've been waiting for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
You put down your phone. You I don't know if you won your Scrabble game or not, but what do you
Scrabble? No, solitaire.
Oh, sorry. Oh, excuse me, solitary. Oh, okay. Yeah, you could even be playing with someone. Okay, you're playing by yourself. Okay, all right, even better. All right, what do you think, Laura?
Listen, do I wish I saw something? Yes. Do I think that Paranormal came out I don't know how many years later, and they do show you something at the very end that they obviously took the found footage ideas of this movie, amplified it. They gave you what it was lacking. So I prefer that movie because of that. However, what Greg didn't tell you is that there was a story from one of the interview people that talked about what the Blair Witch would do is would make one kid look at the wall while she killed the other kid, and then would, of course, kill the kid that was staring at the wall. So knowing that story, I did think it was pretty badass that there was the shot of him staring at the wall. Because like Greg said, this guy, he wouldn't do that. That's not who he is. And all of a sudden, he's clearly possessed. He's just staring at the wall. She clearly took hold of him and said, you got to look at the wall while I kill her. And so I almost feel like it's not ambiguous at all. It's very implied. Like, she's dead, he's dead. They're dead.
They're all dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I thought it was cool. Yeah, I thought the ending was pretty cool. I wish I saw more. I wish that there wasn't some of these lulls in the middle. I think that I'm spoiled. What I've seen since then has been better. And this movie didn't have as a lasting effect on me. So I can't really appreciate it, unfortunately.
Yeah. Interesting.
But the ending was cool.
Yeah.
I will give you that.
Yeah, because to me, the whole thing with this movie is I remember the story that you're talking about, Laura. I thought that was the story they said the serial killer guy did that.
Yeah, but he was possessed by the Blair Witch, right?
Yeah.
Oh, exactly. So is that confirmed? Why do you know that? Is that in a sequel or something?
Yeah, because he said, the serial killer said, I just did what she made me do.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's like the work is done or something like that.
It's what she
like he was being, he had a voice in his head or something, right? That's kind of how I took it.
Okay, see, I don't remember that part of it. I remember it being like two separate stories. So it's like the Blair Witch and there's this serial killer guy that did these things, That's why I always took the ending as more ambiguous of like, is it the Blair Witch or is it just like a serial killer? You know what I mean? That plays these tricks with people. I that's why I took it, but I didn't know that.
Serial killer is likely a human, probably gone by now.
Oh yeah,
Blair Witch live forever.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But I mean, like I said, I like the ending. Like I said, it's set up in the beginning of this movie. The thing was standing in the corner. So then when it has the payoff at the very end, right when you see him in the corner, you're like, oh shit, that's fucking cool. So it's a good payoff. It's a good storytelling arc to finally have that payoff at the end of this movie. Like you said, I wish you did see something at the end. I even remember when her camera falls, it's kind of like falls to the side and it's looking into like a dark area in the back with like a door frame. And I haven't seen this movie in so long that I was like waiting to be like, oh my God, is something gonna pop out? Like you said, Laura, with Paranormal. And I was even because like, I wasn't watching this on my phone like Greg, so I didn't pause it or zoom in because I put it in my notes. I was gonna ask you guys, like, did you see something? Because I didn't see anything.
I didn't.
No, there's nothing.
It's crazy, I mean, like we talked about, like the unknown is creepy to me, but in a movie, I feel like you got to at least give us something. You know what I mean?
A tiny little tidbit.
Yeah. Just have like a little baby pop out in a diaper. Like that would have been creepy enough. You know what I mean?
That's true, because it could be, baby. It literally could be just like a random townsfolk person just screwing with them, right? Couldn't it? Technically, if you laid all the evidence on the table, enough supernatural, or lack thereof, stuff was happening that it wasn't the Blair Witch at all. But since they didn't show it, it's really not definitive.
Yeah, it could have just been a copycat killer. Let's get something. Yeah. Let's see if Grov is available right now. He can like dig deep in this, tell if it's paranormal or not, if real or if it's all in Heather's mind. But. But I'm glad you at least liked the ending, Laura. At least, hour and a half, you finally got something that was kind of creepy, But yeah, interesting. Yeah, let's get into Rotten Tomatoes now, because we've been talking about it a bit, and I think it's going to be more what Laura's talking about, her negative view of this movie, because to me it is that experience. So Rotten Tomatoes for this movie, you have a critic score of 86%.
Wow.
Which is very high, of course.
Nice.
To me, that's kind of where I'm at with this, I believe. I really enjoy this movie and it creeped me out. But then you have an audience score of 56%, which I literally put in the notes like, what the fuck? Like, oh my God, I can't believe it's that low, but I didn't.
Hello.
Yeah, I didn't. I didn't think Laura was going to be one of these people. So like, I didn't have any reference, but now after talking to Laura for this freaking episode, I'm like, all right, well, it's real. I pulled a couple reviews just because I wanted to spot out what people are saying, not knowing Laura was going to be one of them. But it's not a negative, Laura. It's not a negative. So one person left a 1-star review out of 10, I believe. And this person says, this has to be the most overrated horror movie I have ever seen. The characters are annoying. The whole movie is just them walking around the forest fighting with each other through the majority of the movie. Last but not least, the movie is not scary. And then it says like spoilers and quotes. There's not a witch in this movie. So I guess pretty much saying that you don't ever see anything.
The hype is real. People still talk about the Blair Witch in 2021. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think I totally agree with this review. Like the hype is so real, but then the payoff isn't there.
Yeah. Because this is another review I have there, which I think kind of goes more on that. Somebody left a 0.5-star rating of this movie.
Oh my God.
And they said, this is the dumbest movie. I understand it might have been scary in 1999, but the next person in 2021 who tells me it's scary is going to be the dumbest person I know. So wow. Me and Greg, we're morons, I guess, apparently. Laura's a genius, but Laura, did you write this? Did you write that review, Laura?
I didn't.
Let me just say, in 99, we didn't have cell phones. You can't just go out with your GPS. Like when you're lost, that paper map that they lost literally was your lifeline to safety. Without that, you didn't have any of this stuff. I don't know. Like maybe that's a really interesting point. Like maybe this does break down into people who remember it the way it was at the time and people who are watching it now. But I don't know. Yeah. Maybe Laura, you're kind of crossing that boundary a little bit, like because you did see it back then. And you're saying it doesn't hold up.
Yeah. And so watching it again, I'm like, oh, shoot, this does not hold up.
Yeah. Because I was ready to be like, what is wrong with these people? I thought we were all going to be in agreement. I thought Laura was going to be with me and Greg, creeped out and this and that. And we were all just going to yell at these people. But yeah, Laura talking about it and giving me more of like a personal, review of this movie from somebody for all these other, whatever it is, 64% of the people that don't like this movie. And you have these other, 20 years of, better filmmaking, better scares, better this from Paranormal, Cloverfield, even Mama, like all these movies that have done this better. And then now you try to go back and watch this, the first to do it, you're like, it just doesn't hold up because everything's been better now. So, it's hard to argue against that. What do you think, Greg? I see your eyes moving around like you're thinking.
I don't know. I just, to me, really what carries it, and it has not changed since I first saw it, was the acting. I thought their dynamic with each other and the way that they slowly broke down, like that group cohesion broke down over time, really is like I was putting myself there in their shoes. When you have a compass around your neck, it doesn't tell you where you're going. You finally circle back to the same spot after a few days. It's super creepy. I thought it was really believable, and watching it yesterday, I still thought that. I really like how they all seem to change, being the rational one versus panicking, especially. This is a big thing for me. Like they're all revolving around this carousel of acting sane, then totally losing their shit all throughout the movie, which to me, that fluctuation seems super realistic. Like humans are that way. We're that way. We ping pong. Sometimes we lose it, but then we pull it together so that we can survive. And the way that they captured it on the film from little snippets here and there. It just seemed realistic, and that has not changed for me since I first saw it. So I don't know, I latched onto that, and I don't agree with a lot of those negative reviews, but it doesn't surprise me. I've seen, how many times have we seen a movie that we thought was really great, and then people just completely crapped on it because they just didn't see it the same way. So I understand.
Yeah, like we said, it's horror subjective. This movie's completely subjective based on your age, your time frame, when you saw it. Like, if you're like me and you're scared of the woods because of aliens, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's everything is subjective. So yeah. Like I said, I can't really argue against people. I was prepared to, but I can't really do it because Laura is here and she really changed my mind into that perspective. I didn't think about it.
This is just the beauty of horror, you guys.
Yeah.
This is why we do the damn thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's do our ratings. Let's do 1 to 5. I want to do something slightly different a little bit. So I want to do 1 to 5 rating. I want to do a rock pile. So how many rocks are you putting on your pile? 1 to 5.
Oh my God.
How many rocks in your pile?
Yeah, 1 to 5. How many rocks are in your pile for this movie? So that's your rating. You can get into positives and negatives, of course, but let's leave Laura, I think, till the end. Greg, you can go first. 1 to 5. How many rocks are in your pile?
I don't know, man. When you look at the actual rock piles in this movie, they have like 20 rocks. I mean, you have to have a lot to create a pyramidal structure for a rock tower, but I'm not going to get into that. I want to say that I think it's an amazing independent movie for what they did. This reminds me of Paranormal Activity. Look, at a bare minimum, I felt like it was a groundbreaking type of film. I mean, chronologically speaking, it was essentially the first found footage movie. There may be some that have come before it, but nobody really knows about it all that much. But between this and then Paranormal Activity, there wasn't much that was happening in the found footage realm. So, I mean, it was not only was it groundbreaking, but it set the tone. And I personally think it holds up. So I'm going to create a stack of 4 rocks for my tower. So this is a solid 4 for me.
You just put the rocks right on top of each other?
Yeah, because if I do 4 as like a base, that's not really a tower. That's just like one level of rocks. It's not really a tower at all. So yeah, just one on top of the other.
Okay. All right. Perfect, man. Don't knock it over. Don't knock over that tower.
Oh no, I wouldn't dare.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, I mean, I think right there with you, Greg. I mean, I already talked about just hearing a stick. I'm scared of this movie. So like, I mean, you know what I mean? If just that alone gets me, and that's in the first 15 minutes of the first dark scene, then when you get into the actual like kind of crazy stuff in this movie, I'm super scared. I do wish, like we talked about, I do wish they showed something at one point in this movie. And like I said, reading more about that they actually had a scene where they were supposed to kind of makes me more pissed off. I do also think for an hour and a half movie, right? An hour and a half movie. This movie could have been like Host. It could have been 59 minutes, right under an hour. Yeah. And maybe been a better movie, maybe cut out a little bit of some of the day scenes here and there. And maybe that would have been more of a positive. So I'm like Greg. I'm still giving it a 4. I'm with Greg, a 4. I think if it would have done those, if it would have shown something, I probably would be a 5. Because this movie really gets me. It really does. I know Laura's shaking her head right now. She can't.
Rob, I just feel like I've literally shown you The Exorcist. I've fucking showed you Sinister, Babadook, and you were literally not afraid of any of that.
No. Mm-mm.
But like
this gets
fucking Richard Gere and some rocks and you're fucking I just like, oh my God.
Hey, there was no CGI. There was no CGI in this.
This is like, it's all subjective, Laura. And this is like a thing where like I put myself in this movie, and like if I'm in the dark woods and like I hear something, like I am super scared of that.
I'm going to film a movie of just me doing something, and it's going to be nothing, and you're probably going to be afraid of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I'm going to step on some sticks, some phone calls, pretend I see a moth, form a rock pile, get lost a lot, snot.
Okay.
Boom. Rob is horrified.
This is like,
please do it.
This is like, Laura, when we reviewed Tusk, you were like, how could they make an old man standing scary? Like this is like Rob's version of that.
That's
like
true.
They made a pile of rocks scary. I admire that, because I think a pile of rocks and a nest of sticks in the middle of the forest is kind of creepy. So I give him props for that.
Yeah,
I'm just mad at Rob. Like, why can't Rob be scared? I am. You started off this podcast saying I am a scaredy cat, and you are not.
I am. I just admitted this movie scares the shit out of me. This got me. This is scary.
This is a weird like one off.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I have 4 rocks. I'm throwing them at Laura right now because she's just yelling at me. So that's what my pile is gone. So I'm throwing them at her just to dodge my rocks right now. Throwing them at her tent. Get out of there, Oscar Isaac. Yeah.
You accidentally beam her dad in the head.
Laura doesn't deserve you. Oh man. She's shaking her head right now.
Too much just came my way right now. That was not okay.
Yeah. All right, Laura, we're over to you now. You know, me and Greg are at 4s. Where are you at? What's your rock pile? Do you even have a rock pile? I don't even know what Laura has.
Yeah. Okay. I do appreciate so much about this movie. You know, I think they were effective. I think there were creepy parts. I love that this was the first found footage because it opened the door to some of my favorite movies. So saying that, but the fact that I just don't feel like it held up and I'm bored watching it, I just have to cut it right down the middle, which is a 2.5.
Okay, that's not bad. I mean, that's like we talked about 53% of the people, whatever, to 60.
I'm right there.
60. Yeah, you're right there actually. So, and like I said, I'm not going to argue with you of why your reasoning is. Like, I get it. Hearing from those people, hearing from you, like I get it. You know, you've seen too many things. I mean, you've literally seen things in your life that probably are scarier than this. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can't argue with that at all. But you know, I get it. You know, I'm not gonna. You're more upset at me for being scared than I am of you not being scared. So that's kind of crazy. So
you can understand. It's like when Greg back in the day used to give the most outrageous ratings to things, and you're just like, I don't get it.
It's funny how we can refer to like back in the day as like it's not that long ago.
5 months ago.
It was only a couple months ago. We've been doing this for like 20 years, guys. Back in the day. Oh, that's so. It feels very long. It feels like I've been doing this for years with you guys. You know,
everyone's rubbing their heads right now. I just can't drink whiskey anymore.
Oh,
that's
okay,
what it is.
all right. Well,
I'm gonna not pick a whiskey drink for a while now.
Okay, all right. That's funny. All right, well, there you go. You got our ratings. I'm really interested, people listening, you know, email us in where you're at with this. Are you in the Laura's, you know, camp of not really thinking this holds up? Or are you with me and Greg and just we're not going in the woods anymore, guys? So email us in conjecturingpod@gmail, Twitter, Instagram @conjecturingpod. Hit us up on our website. Leave me a creepy voicemail of some sticks. Podpage.com/conjecturingpod. I'm gonna have Laura just listen to all of you voicemails now because I'm too afraid, I think, to listen to them. So
hey, I was the one who said don't leave us a voice.
I know, that's true. Yeah. So that's it for the review. Next week we're reviewing 2013's Coherence. This was Laura's movie pick. Laura, do you think I'm going to be scared next week? Is there sticks in it? Are there rocks?
This movie is actually, this is more of our horror-ish category. I wouldn't say this is true horror. It's more like psychological thriller.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I honestly, I really like it. The one time I saw it, and I hope you guys do too.
Okay, nice, cool. I like it. Yeah, our schedule is posted on our website, and you know, Twitter, Instagram, it's all up there showing what we're going to be doing next week, and then of course for the rest of the month. Also, please remember we have Conjecture Choice still coming up. What are you laughing at, Greg? What's so funny? You're still thinking about rocks and sticks?
I was thinking about something you said about a minute ago, so I'm sorry.
It's coming back at you. So remember, we have Conjecture Choice coming up, so keep sending us in those picks, keep them bringing. You can email us in, you leave us a voicemail, whatever you want to do, keep sending them in there. We got a couple lined up that are really fun and exciting. We might be having a spouse on maybe coming up here in a bit. That might be pretty cool. Also, like we said, you can contact us, conjecturingpod@gmail, Twitter, Instagram @conjecturingpod, podpage.com/conjecturingpod. We have so many fucking sites now, it's fucking crazy. Lastly, remember, subscribe, rate, review our podcast wherever you're listening to it on. And like, I'm wearing my shirt, our merch store, please check that out, tpublic.com/user/conjecturingpod. Like I said, all this stuff will be in the notes of the episodes now. We're actually also doing, we didn't even say this, we're actually putting in timestamps now of the actual episodes. So Greg has kind of been taking a hold of this for us, documenting what things are going on and when. So anybody doesn't want to hear our shenanigans, well, good luck trying to not listen to them. But, you can jump right into the review if you want at a certain timestamp, or you can just listen to certain things. So I think that's really cool that we're doing that now for listeners that just want to hear certain things. I think that'll help them out a bit. So yeah. Also, lastly, remember to check out the Slash and Cast podcast network, slashandcast.network. So that's it from the Shining Hedge Maze tonight. Next week, we're going to be back in the Gold Room. Thank God it's fucking cold out here. This has been the Conjecturing. I've been Rob.
And Laura.
And Greg.
Yeah, until next time, remember, horror is subjective, so conjecture your way. See ya.
Bye.
Bye, guys. See you next week.
Uh-oh. Wait, I hear something again.
That's fucked. The tents are rocking. Don't come a knocking, yeah.